Maybe the best off-season news for Florida State football is that Tamarian Terry is back. Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, breaking down the Noles. And the best way to do that is to bring in these two. We got Jason Parker on the line from NBC6 tomorrow. And we got Big Game James Coleman on the line from Fifth Quarter College Football. All right, let's start right there. He is the number one guy, James. What makes him so good? We saw what he can do in the Sun Bowl. Bam, he gets Florida State right back in the ball game, streaking right down the right sideline and burning a one-on-one coverage. And let's start right there.
What makes him so good is that he runs – people say he's like a 2 or 3 route guy, but he runs those 2 or 3 routes so damn good that you can't stop him when there's an opportunity. Obviously, the go route or a deep post, he runs the dig well, and I think he's a quick slant guy. But I don't think he's as bad with the route tree, or I also think the route tree is a little overrated. You run what they ask you to run. But his ability in one-on-one matchups to use his speed, really more so his body. He's not the most – he's an explosive player, but not explosive like you would think. I think he's more like a – maybe not with the off-field issues, but I'm in Jacksonville, so we have the Jags. He reminds me more of a Justin Blackmon. That not James, I almost said James Blackman, but Justin Blackman and his ability to control his body, run routes, use his size against DBs. Now, something that I got frustrated with numerous times during the season was that he disappeared in games, but it wasn't because he was covered.
I think the biggest thing for me was Tamarian Terry coming back. He was the best recruit offensively from the 2020 class when it comes to signing stuff. He was the best recruit. Because he gives you – the thing that people want to say is, man, look what Tamarian Terry did in 2019. Tamarian Terry was also a great wide receiver in 2018 too when DeAndre Francois was throwing the ball around. So he's gone – he's done great with one quarterback, did great again with another quarterback. Now he's got that same quarterback coming for 2020, and this is going to be his time. And I think, Mike Norvell knows that. Kenny Dillingham knows that. James Blackman knows that. Everyone knows that he is going to be a man offense. So can he be a taller, bigger – version of a la Peter Warrick in that being that playmaker like Peter Warrick was during that 99 season, or is he going to take a step back? I'm more inclined to think he's going to be in that playmaker mentality just because I think he's shown how versatile he is, being able to play well under 2 different quarterbacks who I think are 2 completely different QBs in general, both in style of play, both in person, physical abilities, and whatnot. I think the wide receiver position, I think you lose a couple guys we talked about before, Trayshawn Harrison, who's heading to transfer to Oregon State, Keith Gavin, who pretty much was useless for 4 years except for one play against Michigan in the Orange Bowl. He's gone. So this is going to be the question. You have other guys come in. You got Warren Thompson, who came in as a big target from the Tampa area, who really hasn't lived up to his name. DJ Matthews, we could talk about all the questionable things he's done. Or hasn't really done on offense. I mean, he's one of these guys who I'm sorry, I'm going to say a name that makes some Florida State fans cringe. He's a Chris Ricks in the sense of he'll do one great play and then he'll do some other plays where you're kind of like, ugh, why did he do that? It's kind of that same mentality from the Jacksonville area. Then you've got guys coming in. You got Brian Robinson, who was arguably one of the best players in the 2020 recruiting class who's coming in. Is he going to get a chance to play right away for the Seminoles come the 2020 season? So wide receiver could be an interesting group, but the fact that Tamarian Terry decided to come back, to me, first of all, it's amazing that he did decide to come back, but I also think it's going to be a huge uplift for an offense that is still looking for somewhat of an identity.
Tamarian Terry essentially is going to be the guy that elevates the wide receiver room with the new offense coming in. It's not a conceptual offense. So the thing about not having a playbook, you teach the theory of a route. Now it's actually you run this route. It's not a kind of you can run a curl, but maybe do it. No, it's curl. That's what it is, or it's that. So Dugans could become a better coach, but what happens is when a defense sees Tamarian Terry, they're gonna immediately say, "Yo, we gotta bring our attention there." So what happens is you've got some young playmakers that have shown flashes. You have a Jordan Young, a.k.a. Abusement Park, who I believe is more like Tamarian Terry than Warren Thompson is. But you have a Warren Thompson who, hear me in what I'm saying, is like Keith Gavin with better hands. So a bigger receiver he's your guy that's going to run your controlled routes. That's going to do that. Jordan Young is more explosive. Is going to make the big catch. You still have obviously you got Brian Robinson. I'm trying to think of a man from New Orleans who's another speedster who kind of takes the Treshaun Harrison role that we just got. He was a 4-star wide receiver too. Again, Dubin had a really good haul. We missed on Malachi, but that's all good. You know, you can only have you only have one ball, so only so many people can go and get it. But I think it's all about how well these guys can create separation, how well these guys can really buy into what it is, and how well they believe in the quarterback. See, the thing that Florida State has always had is, like, when they've been successful, are great wide receivers who made every quarterback look bad. Every quarterback look good, excuse me. You brought up Chris Ricks, right? So Chris Ricks got an opportunity to play with the last of, I would say, the great wide receivers. But the difference was, like, so when Winky had, just think about the talent that Winky had. He had Snoop Minnis, second-round pick. He had Peter Ward, first-round pick. He had Ron Dugans, fourth or fifth-round pick. He had Trouble Coles, third-round pick. He had Anquan Bolden, second-round pick. You had
and likely Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. He has so many guys that were NFL ready. And if you go and you look, I have a picture. Every time I talk with Snoop, I bring up the picture I had on my wall. There is a picture where Winky literally threw the ball out of bounds, and the Florida defender actually had the better position on the ball to get the interception. Snoop reaches over the Florida defender in the end zone, grabs it from him, and it gets both feet down. What they says, they looked at that ball as money. So what do we have? So then what happens is you lose that. Quan leaves. Rafonso Thorpe's still good. PK Sam, a little bit, guys that just don't have, you didn't have that hunger and that iron as sharp as iron. What you have now, and that all really started with the 96 recruiting class. If you think, that's what they all talk about, because in that 96 recruiting class, do we also know who was involved in that? The one guy named Randy Moss that never got a chance to play at Florida State.
I wonder what happened to him.
Yeah, unfortunately. But now you have these young wide receivers with the guy who has that hunger and that desire to go get it, and these guys want to go get it. So it doesn't matter. That's what I try to tell him. Slim Reaper can be what he was. He could be a subpar quarterback, but if you have excellent wide receivers, a subpar quarterback is going to look really, really good. I mean, I hate to say it, but I don't know how good Tua is out of Alabama. I know Alabama fans are going to jump in your mention, but I can look good if I had a 5-star running back and some of the best wide receivers in the nation. I mean, who's going to guard them? So those are the things that's what we have to have out of the wide receiver crew. We got to have dogs, and I believe they finally recruited guys who don't want to just be pretty, that just want to be out there. Even Jameis Winston. Jameis Winston had 3 of the best wide receiver years out of that, off of his arm that year they won a national championship. Since 3 guys.
Since I cover Tua, I want to make sure to say Tua is a great quarterback, and he may come to the Miami Dolphins. So Tua, come on over to NBC6. Let's do our first interview. So shout out to Tua Tagovailoa. But I will say, James hit something on the head there, and we've talked about this before on your show, Mark. I want to see what Terry can do with an actual offensive coordinator, because his last 2 offensive coordinators have been Walt Bell, who I'm still trying to figure out how he got a job as an offensive coordinator at Florida State. I'm trying to figure out how, because I'm sorry, he's arguably one of the most god-awful assistant coaches I've been around covering that program or being a fan of that program for over 35 years now. So that's number one. And then you have Kendall Briles, who I feel like, we hear little James Coleman in the background playing with his toys. I feel like Kendall Briles was just a big kid playing with his toys going, ooh, let me move this offensive piece here, and let me move this piece here, let me put this piece here. There's a time to be cute, and that's called Conference USA or called the WAC or called these other conferences. There's a time to where you need a playbook. You need to actually have things written down. You need to have some offensive structure, and that would be Florida State football. So to have that with Kenny Dillingham and Mike Norvell coming in, I want to see if we can see what Tamari and Terry did with structure. And if he can do that, I think you arguably could have one of the top 5, if not higher, greatest wide receivers in Florida State history.